With Sharia principles centered around sustainable development and the real economy, Islamic finance has become an alternative model for supporting the growth of the real estate sector. The services provided by Islamic finance firms range from residential mortgages to large-scale financing of acquisitions and construction projects, as well as the refinancing of facilities, have become popular. Within the real estate investment space, Islamic finance offers several benefits, like being able to adapt to different sizes and tenures of financing and new techniques like Sharia-compliant real estate investment trust. But with Nigeria's inflation rate currently at 20.52%, how does rising inflation impact real estate investment? Hello and welcome to the Islamic Finance Weekly, where we discuss relevant topics in the non-interest finance market. On today's program, I'll be discussing Islamic finance as a catalyst to the growth of Nigeria's real estate sector. Joining me for this conversation is Abdul-Jabbar Oyekan, founder or CEO of Eazi Rent. Good morning, Mr. Abdul-Jabbar. Thank you for coming on the program.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Let us begin the conversation with the fact that in most countries, real estate is skyrocketing, but in Nigeria, the high inflation does not encourage investment at all. So how will you describe real estate investment in Nigeria, and why is it important to invest in real estate?
It's important to invest in real estate, number one, but then I'll argue with the fact that real estate isn't actually doing well. We've actually seen, the sector has been one of the best performing sectors in the economy over a recent period of time, despite, the economic downturn, right? Also, real estate assets are generally classified as safe havens for investment in times of, economic downturn like this, or we're seeing rising inflation and all of that. Right, the expectation in times like this is that rents rise along with, prices of goods and materials. And in other environments, you see things like, lease clauses included in rents that, speak to inflation, and so they just adjust year on year according to the inflation. But however, Nigeria is not typical to actually find those leases in there. But still, you're seeing, a very, very important role that the informal sector is playing, in the economy, because you're seeing, if you just drive down, the Lekki corridor, you're seeing houses springing up all the time, despite, increase in building material costs, for different reasons, the war and inflation and all of that. So, real estate as a whole is still performing. It's still the assets to actually invest in times like this, because, you can't take away the tangible, nature of the asset. And then also, there's also, what we call the sentimental attachment to real estate. Everyone sees real estate success as how much real estate you actually own. You cannot also deny things like urbanization that are happening at very, very high rates, which is also driving the demand. So, and then this demand is leading developers and investors to actually become more savvy, understanding demand-driven models to actually use to invest in real estate. For example, you are seeing increase in things like professional housing, which obviously encourage use of a lot more efficient use of space. So you're saying, because these houses are expensive, people are looking for young professional housing around CBDs where they work and all of that. And also, it's very, very important to actually know that the drive of the digital adoption drive is encouraging a lot of investments in real estate. Right, you are seeing platforms that are sort of doing a bit of Islamic crowdfunding, or even crowdfunding as a whole, generally conventional crowdfunding as well, drive this adoption and drive investments in real estate. So I would always argue, maybe because this is all I know, real estate is still the asset class to actually invest in times like this. You cannot deny the fact that people actually want to invest in foreign earning investments, to hedge against the foreign exchange exposure and all of that. But at the same time, the market is there. The informal sector is playing a major role. People are investing. Ticket sizes are going down because the high entry barriers into real estate are coming down because of this adoption of technologies. The blockchain. We're seeing crowdfunding. People are investing with as little as 100,000 naira now. So it's driving the market. So these are the factors that we are looking at. That's why we're quite bullish of the sector, and we believe it's still going to flourish despite the economic environment we're in.
All right, thank you very for sharing your insight with us. So, you talk about investments in real estate in Nigeria, like the market is booming. So, from what you've explained, will you encourage foreign investors to invest in real estate investment in Nigeria due to our high inflation?
Yeah, I definitely will. We're saying that we cannot take away the fact that there's a serious housing crisis. We're saying so the demand will forever be there, and these people have to be housed. So we just have to be more innovative in the products we actually put out there.
Okay.
Like I said, the key thing is driving down, housing barriers. We're getting more collaboration amongst, governments and, private sector and all of that as well. So encourage investment. So as long as the climate is there for that investment, you will see that, a lot of people will be encouraged to actually come in, both local and foreign investors, to actually come into the market. I mean, look at the commercial space. Most of the houses going up now are foreign investments. Most of the commercial space going up now are foreign investment. High grade investment is coming into the country. So we're very bullish, like I said earlier.
Talking about innovative, Eazi Rent is a digital platform that offers an alternative rental solution to individuals and SMEs with flexible payment plans. So, as the founder or CEO of Eazi Rent, which of the Islamic finance product do you use in solving the issue of housing in Lagos State, and how accessible is it?
So what we've done with Eazi Rent is just to apply the what I call it the Ijarah principle, Islamic finance principle. Ijarah, simply put, is just where one party transfers the right to use an asset to another for a specific period in exchange for specific consideration. So what we are doing is we've looked at the climate, we've looked at what we can actually do to actually support housing in this environment. Typically, rental demands are usually made yearly. People are demanded to pay sometimes even up to 2 years upfront rent, right? In a society where people earn, most of the people actually earn on a daily basis. Most people also earn on a monthly salary basis. So what we've looked at is, okay, what can we do to actually encourage people to actually pay their rent on a monthly basis? We've created this platform where you find a property, either a residential property or a commercial property. We then lease that property and then issue an Ijarah to you on a monthly rolling term where you pay us monthly. We think that's a bit more convenient. You can free up cash to do more business. You can free up cash for more important needs. And then also you earn on a monthly basis, so it's much more convenient to actually plan your finances that way. So that is what actually drove the development of this service I would say the entire pop. So it's very inclusive. Other competitors actually offer this similar service, but on a debt-based principle, which is obviously not Sharia compliant. So almost half the population, which we know are Muslims, are disenfranchised from this. So our solution actually caters to everyone. So that's why we say we're very inclusive in our solution.
Okay, so talking about Ijarah, Sharia compliant real estate investment has long been an established product offering for ethical investment managers. Are there any challenges facing investing in Islamic real estate in Nigeria? What are the challenges?
It's the same challenges we're facing in terms of just adoption of Islamic finance generally. There's a lack of awareness.
Exactly.
People actually, so in doing our own research, we're looking to set up a lot of the biggest concerns of people, although our value proposition seems attractive to them, is it's based on Sharia. It's you're trying to Islamicize Nigeria and all these things that awareness would actually just letting people understand that most of the beneficiaries of Islamic finance products in this market are actually non-Muslims. So those are people that have taken time to actually study it, to understand that it's beneficial, and they're actually adopting it. So we need to create a bit more awareness, let people understand that these products are actually more inclusive because they cater to everyone, and they're actually a lot fairer, right? I mean, so they're mostly equity-based model where it's a shared risk, shared reward. It's not debt, so you're not overburdening yourself and becoming a major issue for you. So these are the things. These are the major issues that people are facing. And also, you look at even the regulatory framework as well. We need to actually do more, partner with the government as well to encourage the adoption of Islamic finance. And then we need a bit more collaboration amongst the players, especially the bigger players and the smaller players like ourselves that are looking to drive these products and drive this sector as well.
Thank you very much for your perspective. But what are the market dynamics and outlook for Islamic real estate investing?
Oh, it's quite bullish. It's quite bullish. I think you'll call me more of an optimist, right? So we're seeing increased adoption as we're seeing more players come into the space. People are getting more, as we know, competition typically breeds innovation. So, and which is obviously more beneficial to the consumers, right? So adoption is increasing, both Muslims and non-Muslim adoption. Because people are actually seeing the benefits of Islamic finance over conventional finance, right? We're seeing, we're speaking to a lot more bigger players, like I said earlier, just to see where we can collaborate, where we can assist each other, we would bring the customers. So there's a lot happening. So it's an interesting time for Islamic financing. As we all know, we looked at even the 2008 crisis and the role Islamic finance played in sort of buffering those markets from the exposure of the housing crisis and all of that. So people actually are studying these things. They are more interested in Islamic finance. We've seen adoption in more developed climates. We're quite optimistic that will be the same case here. So so like I said, the more players come in, the more competitive it gets, the more innovation actually comes in, and the better for everyone.
Talking about investing in real estate sector using Islamic finance, the issue of housing deficits in Nigeria and Africa. So do you have any recommendation for addressing the Islamic real estate to thrive in Nigeria and Africa? What is your recommendation?
Well, my recommendation is, we have to have favorable regulatory framework, right? Issues like where, the conventional finance, people are getting loans from CBN that, Islamic finance banks cannot take. That already gives some sector, added advantage over others. Then we need to look at, access to longer term financing. Otherwise, housing financing, it has to be a long-term play. Currently, I think the best we can do is about 15 to 20 years, which is a huge stretch. But obviously, in more developed climates, you are seeing longer-term financing, and it's very, very important to actually drive the housing deficit. I keep saying to others as well, if you look at things like what happened during the EndSARS unfortunate incidents, a lot of people actually there's a disconnect between people and and where they actually live, because there's no ownership. You don't feel a sense of actually belonging in those areas that you actually live in, because you don't have any ownership of there. So we need to encourage house ownership. We need to encourage, and we can only do this by actually making the climate a lot more conducive for people to actually own housing. And how do you do that? It's simple: finance. We have to have accessible financing that suits people's purposes and goes along with their own beliefs. So that's what we need. We need a lot. We need to speak a bit more. We need to collaborate more. That's why we're looking at technologies. Technology is actually coming not to disrupt, but to sort of assist in driving this thing. So we need to speak with our bigger players. How can we drive this thing? What kind of products can we innovate, and how do we create a longer term financing play for this? So that's most important: collaboration and partnerships, more players in the space to drive more competition for innovation, longer term financing, regulatory framework, and awareness.
Collaboration, sensitization, we all need this for the Islamic real estate to thrive in Nigeria and Africa. And we need to bridge the issue of housing deficit facing the country. Thank you very much, Mr. Abdul-Jabbar Oyekan, for sharing your perspective with us on the Islamic finance weekly. We appreciate your intervention. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much for having me. Have a nice day.
The real estate sector holds great prospect for unlocking economic opportunities in Nigeria. With creative and innovative Sharia-compliant products, more Nigerians will be able to invest in the industry, which at the long term will reduce Nigeria's housing deficit. And that will be all for this edition of the Islamic Finance Weekly. You can visit our website, proshare.co, to watch our videos, read our news reports and articles. Till we come your way again, thank you for watching, and bye for now.